Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
We're 2 rounds into the season in the ARA Porsche Cup, and already we've witnessed fantastic events at Road Atlanta and Laguna Seca. Tonight we head to the Midwest and Road America for 4 races of action tonight. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Aaron Smith, Joshua Wilkie, bringing you this stream on Apex Racing TV. And Aaron, this is an absolute Goliath of a circuit. It is for pretty much all iRacers in our top 10 favourite circuits on the sim. And we've got a bumper field, over 50 drivers taking part in tonight's event.
I just think it's such an everything track. Like, it just delivers on all fronts. It's really, really fun to hot lap. It's amazing to race around. And it's just a nice spectator venue as well. It's a bit of a shame that we don't really see this series more, this track in real life, apart from the American series like IMSA and IndyCar. I would really like to see this track used more. It is so much fun, and especially here on iRacing, like you mentioned, it's incredibly popular and among one of the most favoured, but also one of the oldest tracks in iRacing, I believe. I think it probably is due a rescan at some point, especially since there's a little bit more runoff than there was all those years ago when this track was initially added to the service, especially down at turn 1, which is one of the most difficult corners on the entire track. I guarantee you we're going to see plenty of mistakes and people rallying their way through turn 1 as they understeer wide and wider and wider and try desperately to avoid the barrier on the outside. And are we going to see it in qualifying? I can definitely already see some tyre marks on there, so already claimed some victims.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much down for iRacing just doing another artwork update. They did do one for this circuit a couple of years ago, and I think that's all it needs. I think we should keep the grass on this circuit and stay away from tarmacking over the gravel traps, which are properly good to turn, and it is a narrow circuit as well. It'll be a dangerous lap 1. We're not going to have all 50 cars on track. We will have a maximum of 30, but it could still be chaotic. So far, we've had the amateur drivers and the pro-ams set times in this session, and it is Misha Berger who has set the fastest pro-am time so far today, and Steve Clays who has set the fastest amateur time. So these guys are the drivers to beat, and we've now got the pros out on circuit for the final 10 minutes of this session to see what they can offer. They're currently on their first flying laps.
Yeah, not easy qualifying round here. It's a long lap, no matter what car you're in, to be honest. I think even the GTPs are doing about 1 minute 40s round here. And of course, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we're doing about 2 minute 6s as our quickest lap time so far in this session. Plenty of off-track opportunities as well. You've got turn 1, of course, then down at turn 5 as well, turn 8. Then coming through here into Canada corner, if you just go a little bit too deep and take too much of the runoff on the outside, then, well, yeah, you'll be saying hello to one of the many off-tracks around here. And, well, it's also difficult to just completely perfect a lap round here. But with that all said and done, from my experience doing Road America, the gaps are always fairly small. And I think it's kind of a similar problem that Sebring has, is that people have so many laps around here. People know this track inside and out. And to be fair, there's not really that many corners you can gain a massive amount of time from. They're all fairly simple corners, to be fair. They're all either 90-degree left or right-handers. The only few sweeping corners that we do have, the carousel and the kink at turn 11. The rest of the corners around this track are fairly straightforward, and it's just about braking as late as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's very much straight corner, straight corner, straight corner, and so on and so forth. There's not really any complexes. Obviously, you have the middle part of the lap, which sort of flows into one another, sort of from this turn 5 all the way to the carousel. It's sort of linked together, but you still got a couple 100 meters generally between each of these corners, so it's not too far. A couple 100 meters between each of these corners. Zavadil, how flat can he stay through here? I was speaking over it, but I could hear a little bit of a lift. In a prototype, you could go flat out there, but in these Porsche Cups, nowhere near being able to achieve that. And then just negotiating the tricky left, and then into the long right of the carousel. Drivers tend to keep a very tight line through here, but Zavadil actually squaring off the corner, and that enables him to get on the power a little bit earlier.
I think in these cars, because you're relying so much more on the mechanical grip, I think that's probably the best way to take into that corner. There's not an amazing amount of downforce in this Porsche Cup car. I mean, sure, it has more downforce than you or I, like road cars, sure, but it's that kind of corner at the carousel in a GTP or even a GT3, you can stay fairly tight towards the apex and slingshot your way out of the corner. As you can see, this car can feel a little bit wallowy at high speeds. And Zavadil, this first lap, didn't look like he was pushing too hard. It kind of just looked like he needs to set a lap. And then I imagine this next lap will be the be-all and end-all for the American. And it's been a fairly good start for the season for Zavadil. Of course, he had a little bit of a messy A final in Road Atlanta, but last week, I mean, what a dominant performance at Laguna Seca. And, well, can he replicate that here in our third American circuit of the season?
Yeah, he is looking all right at the moment, but Misha Berger's lap is really holding strong. However, these cars tend to get quicker on their second and third laps. I thought maybe the first lap would be very strong because it's such a long circuit here that maybe the tyres would get better. But yeah, the tyres just sort of get better and better as it goes on. And of course, they'll be burning fuel, which takes a little bit of time off. Not a whole lot, but still a couple hundredths maybe. That they'll be able to get from that. Corey Lazarus currently in P7, but yeah, still Berger at the top. You're mentioning Zavadil, yeah, with a tricky start to the season. We've actually had 2 different winners so far in the pros, but besides that, they're both a struggle. So Zavadil had a very tricky round 1, but won round 2, and Pascal Costa won round 1. He wasn't even around for round 2, so it's actually Philip Hammer who's currently top of the championship in the pros. Of course, the champion from 2 seasons ago.
Well, we can actually load up the points as well, and we can start with the pros, I believe. So we can take a look at how things stand after just 2 full rounds in the season so far. Still got plenty of go, of course. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's Philip Hammer up at the top there, and Dispatakis with being fairly consistent in these first 2 rounds. And although not at times being the quickest, he's just made the best of other drivers' mistakes, especially last week at Laguna Seca. He really profited from everything that was going on, and I believe finished second in the A final. A very, very good drive from him. And although you'd argue Zavadil has been the quickest driver so far this season, currently sits in third, almost over 20 points behind the leader of Philip Hammer. Lazarus as well potentially could come back. We saw him do very, very well at Road Atlanta, but last week at Laguna Seca didn't do too well. And then, of course, everyone from 5th downwards got a little bit of work to do. And we can take a look at the Pro-Ams now, which has been a little bit harder to predict so far this season.
Yeah, so Bodder at the top of that one. He's actually got pole as well in the first 2 rounds. He's not got pole tonight. But only a podium as well. Didn't actually get a podium last time out. So he has been very good in qualifying, but not necessarily dominant in the races. So really, you look down at that and you really think anyone from that top 10 can maybe still have a chance of contending for the title. And in the abs, we have Michael Velasquez, who of course managed to win last time out, squeaks through into the A final, went through from the B final, and he's actually had a 2nd and a 1st so far this season. A little bit of field spread already in those amateur categories. In qualifying at the moment, I can now say that Dalton Zavadil has taken provisional pole. His 2nd lap, as we expected, was faster than his 1st due to those tyres getting into their absolute peak performance, and he's a 10th and a half clear of the rest of the field.
Yeah, and that just makes Misha Berger's lap time even more impressive, and Sabota as well, up there in the Pro-Ams. Those two are really putting in a performance in qualifying here today. Still got some lap times left to go in the pros. Of course, Dispatakis, as we're riding with him now, he's still yet to actually set a lap time, interestingly enough. So he's been struggling. Either that or he's gone very, very late. Has the Greek, and hopefully this lap, I think, will be his only lap that he will be able to set. I don't think he'll have enough time to do another one. So this is going to be his one and only chance, and that's understeer if I've ever seen it at the carousel. But maybe slightly intentional, as he can now slingshot his way excuse me, out of the carousel and into the kink we go. Not quite flat in these cars, and like I said, at high speed this car can seem hopeless compared to some of the other machines that we have here on iRacing. As we head now down towards Canada Corner, heavy braking in these cars and using all of the track on the outside. Little bit of a slip through the exit of that quarter, as Nold now going into 3rd place. Still no one able to get ahead of Berger apart from Costa, who, just as I said that, narrowly misses out on pole as well, 300ths off. What about Despotakis? Where can he put himself as he comes out of turn 14 onto the Road America straight? Very creative naming by the Americans, as always. As he comes across the line, where's it going to put him? Is it going to be anywhere competitive? No. In 14th place, the man 2nd in the championship is, well, about 6/10 off pole.
Yeah, he was. He invalidates his first 3 lap times, and then that one did not deliver, as you say, Aaron. And he's a long way adrift, a long way adrift. Great effort from Pascal Costa to get close to Zavadil. That means that we've got our 2 race winners so far this season in the top 2 places. And Misha Berger with a phenomenal qualifying right there. He hadn't even taken pole in the Pro-Am so far this season. He sits 5th in the championship, but if he can convert this qualifying and keep it up for the rest of the evening, he will be right up there come the end of the day. Well, let's get to the grid then, and the order for this 3rd round of the season. This is Heat 1, so all the odd place drivers from qualifying enter into this race, and it is Dalton Zavadil on pole position, ahead of the Pro-Am Misha Berger. Then it's Philip Hammer, Championship leader, Miroslav Soboda, who's Championship leader in the Pro-Ams. Then it's Diogo Faria, Ben Pedersen, Joe Vega, Godestad, Andrea Del Piccolo, Carl Felvis, Salvatore Lane, Hayden Bramley, Ben Woods in 12th. Then it's Frederick Kokok, Greaveson, Borman, Crawford, Burzeg, Vidal, Jacinto, Thorson, Hobbs, Michaud, Marshall, Hapacha, Velasquez, and Hatcher. A few of those drivers near the back. I think Marshall and Hapacha both having qualifying bans for this round.
Notice as well, a lot of the AMs really struggled there in qualifying. We have, at least in the last few rounds, I think, seen one or two drivers crack inside of that top 12 immediately, but this time out, a lot of them really struggling around here at Road America, but let's see if their fortunes favour as we get into the first two heats. And, well, you mentioned the points in the AMs, the gaps opening up already, and that is all about getting into the A final. If you can do that, it's a huge, huge bonus for those drivers.
Yeah, and interesting, Velasquez, who is the championship leader in the AMs, standing in 25th place. I don't think he even set a time in qualifying, so he's been absolutely relentless so far, has Velasquez, with a pole position to his name as well, but not so far today. He's got some work to do. Alistair Hatcher not on the grid, which means that we have 25 cars lining up, the 5 lights coming on. Saboda having some connection issues, but away we launch. And it's a good start for our top 2 drivers. Wait to see what's happening to Saboda. He has got a little bit of a weak start, but watch for him blinking out because he did disappear for a moment. Diego Farri with an amazing start. He's up into 3rd place. Round the outside he goes. That is a brilliant start from the Portuguese driver. From the 3rd row of the grid, he is up into 3rd position now.
Yeah, I think Savoda, like, just blipping in and out of existence there might have distracted him and maybe some of the other drivers around him. So, you know, you're so focused on, you know, paying attention to those lights, and then all of a sudden everyone around you completely disappears. And it does put you off ever so slightly, as there's a little bit of door banging, so close they could probably shake hands. And, oh, God, Hayden Branley, that is not a move you want to be doing. And, well, oh, there's a bit of a lock-up there, and that's going to cause a huge check-up of cars as we head into turn 5. And that is about 3 or 4 cars involved in that one. That was Felvers who got knocked into by one of the ADX cars. I didn't quite manage to see who it was. Apache, one of the drivers who got involved in that. And, well, that's definitely not what we wanted to see heading onto this first lap. You did say it would be difficult, Sam, and, well, you got your wish.
Yeah, I think they were so... Oh, and that's a huge outbraking. Totally missed the braking point there, did Ben Woods. And he realised that either he was going to hit the car ahead or he had to turn right before a left-hander, and he decided to go for the kind thing and just go into the wall. So that is him out, and also Vidal back to the pits. Well, they do have a fast repair, but that is deeply frustrating for both of those drivers. We're going to get a replay, and part of the issue was there were no incidents through T1 and T2, so they were absolutely fine heading into turn 5. There meant there were lots of drivers, and yeah, you are right, it was the ADX car. He hit Godestad. I think it may have been Kane Crawford who went on the inside of everyone, gained 6 places on the race start, and the ADX car I think was Andrea Del Piccolo. In fact, it was Hayden Bramley who went up the inside of everyone, but it was Del Piccolo who caused that initial contact, it looked like.
Yeah, we were riding on board with Bramley, who momentarily thought about going into a gap that didn't really exist. I think it put Piccolo off a tiny bit, distracted him into the braking of turn 5. And we can see again, this is him off of the start, and hopefully we can sort out the replay.
Farrier's off. Farrier's gone off at turn 1.
Yep, can see that. The driver who had such an amazing start, Griefson, I believe, has had an off as well. And I told you about that turn 1. It catches people out if you're not paying attention. It's such an easy corner to mess up. It's just so simple. You go ever so slightly too deep, ever so slightly too wide. And, well, it's claimed the first victim of this race. And I believe it claimed Griefson as well. And you can see they're just way too aggy into the corner. And I think had he even not touched the back of Misha Berger, he probably would have been spun round anyway. Oh, and speaking of, Diego Farrier making more contact there with, I believe that was Buraseg for 14th. And he's lost yet another place. Bit of smoke coming up the hill into turn 6. But, well, an amazing start for Farrier has turned tragic, and that's another driver being spun round. That's not Felvers, that is Thornson, who got, I'm not sure if he was spun round or just completely by himself. Yeah, it's quite a difficult exit off of turn 6. You're coming uphill, especially in these Porsche Cup cars. You can lose that mechanical grip very, very quickly. And we can see if it was all by himself. He was side by side with another car. Was there contact? No, it was completely all by himself, just trying to get the better of the driver he was battling with, and, well, paid the price.
So now, 12th place is Mater Hapache. I think he just got past Mater Jacinto, so Hapache's done amazing well. He had a qualifying ban because of various incidents in previous races, and it means that he's now up 12 places, is Hapache, into 12th place. and he should be pretty safe. So if anyone else is going to get into that top 12, it's going to be tough because it's all pro-ams and pros as it stands. So Godestad, who's had a poor start, he got involved in that lap 1, turn 5 incident, I believe. Farrier, who we saw go off at turn 1 earlier on, they may not even make it to the A final now, and will have to go through the B final. Still got 5.5 more minutes of the race to go. You can see the amount of gravel on the track. Shouldn't take too much of a difference because it is on a straight where the drivers aren't going to need too much grip, but great to see those little features from iRacing being implemented.
Yeah, 100%. And just, you know, iRacing getting better and better over the last year or two. Still obviously not completely perfect, but us iRacers like to gaslight ourselves into believing that it is. As we ride on board with Ben Pedersen riding in 4th place, having a lot better of a time than he did last week at Laguna Seca. And, well, not too far off the lead, actually. He's got some good pace, and that's not going to help him at all, though. Trying to punch the power down coming out of turn 6. He needs to make sure he doesn't do what Thornton did, which is such an easy mistake to make. And nearly made it there, as Berger there also slipping coming out of turn 8. Seems like the drivers are struggling on traction here today. I don't know how hot the track is. Usually at Road America, it is fairly toasty. And yeah, well, the track temp is 30 degrees, which, well, at least in England, that's a lot. Maybe for the Americans, it's just normal temperature. But, I mean, if it's 30 degrees outside, I can probably get a tan. So I'm going to count that as hot.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, we use sort of the winter months a lot as well in iRacing around this time of year. We usually try to match the real-life date. And so it is usually quite cold around this time of year, even in iRacing. So yeah, that is a little bit toasty and will compromise the grip for the drivers. Here's Nico Borman with an incident he was involved in, and to be fair to Borman, the driver on the outside did tighten his line slightly, so they were both involved and they will probably both continue battling.
Quite frankly, I'm surprised he was still able to continue after that, as he got hit about 6 times during that entire charade. So his Porsche Cup car, oh, that's a slide. That's Ben Pedersen, who drifting his way through that first corner. And now Hayden Bramley up the inside he goes. And, well, I did say he was having a better race than he was last week, but, well, have I maybe cursed him slightly? As, I mean, he saved it. Very good car control from the Australian. And now he's riding the back of the Brit, of Hayden Bramley. Is he going to try and go for the move? Just giving him a bump here and there. Piccolo now trying to go around the outside of Ben Pedersen. But Ben going a little bit deep into the corner to make sure he can keep a hold of 5th place at least, as Piccolo coming under pressure there as well from Zavoda. And that was a very awkward sequence of corners for Ben Pedersen. And he's just got to get his head down now and, well, try and forget that mistake ever happened. Probably overheated those tyres as well, which is an awful thing to do in these Porsche Cup cars.
Yeah, here was the initial mistake once again. And, yeah, carrying too much speed. There is a little bit of turbulence in these cars, as there is really in any car. It's not as bad as in a single-seater, but when you're on the edge like these drivers are, it can make a crucial difference. We've got to remember, of course, Del Piccolo, I think, was absolutely responsible for that turn 5 incident earlier on in the race. So he will almost certainly get a penalty. It still matters his position because it still sets the grid for the A final. We're not going to apply a penalty or whatever before the A final. It'll be a post-meeting penalty, but it's maybe something worth considering that even if Del Piccolo beats Saboda and Co, he'll probably drop behind them afterwards. Top 12 get through, and currently Kokok is still in that 12th place. Godestad, though, has got pretty close. Now, Patch has got past Kokok, so he's a bit more safe, but Kokok versus Godestad is probably what it's going to come down to, because we only have one more lap of this Heat 1 to go, and this is getting awfully close. And Ben Pedersen, who lost that 4th place just a lap ago, he fancies like getting it back, and maybe the slightly better or slightly less drag he has on that car due to the lack of damage he's got, it's helping him along. Didn't help him enough, though, to get the position completely fixed.
No, not there anyway, but he's probably got one more chance, I'd say, on this lap down into turn 5, the corner coming up down the Moraine sweep as we head down this straight, and he's not getting a huge amount of slipstream. He might actually come under pressure from the drivers behind if he's not careful. He's going to have to be extremely brave on the brakes. Not quite close enough as Hayden Bramley positions his car directly in the middle of the circuit to make sure that he keeps a hold of that 4th place. And usually I'd say that there's another chance around this circuit just into Canada Corner. But the way that you have to take the kink in these cars kind of limits that. You have to lift a decent amount. You can't completely just flat out turn 11 like you can in most of the cars, and that's Goddestad being spun round there at turn 7. And I couldn't quite see if that was contact or it was just by himself. It looked like it was contact. He was battling hard with another car here.
This is Coco.
Yes, going side by side here into turn 7, and there was contact. And Coco nearly being spun round as well. But awkwardly, with the way the physics works, especially in these cars, usually the driver kind of furthest behind making the contacts is actually the driver that will be worse off, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but oh well. As Hayden Bramley still desperately trying to hold on to this 4th place. It might be a run to the line here. You just never know. And there's Del Piccolo going round the outside. That was a cheeky move for the Italian. Didn't quite work out for him in the end, but I mean, Ben Pedersen's got to be careful here. He's got 2-3 drivers right up his chuff as we head straight towards the start-finish straight. It's going to be Hayden Bramley holding on to that 4th place. Del Piccolo ended up in 7th. Sabota managed to jump the Italian at the end there. Ben Pedersen managed to hold on to 5th, but that was a very, very close finish for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all at the line there. And of course, Dawson Zavadil winning with ease, 2 seconds ahead of Misha Berger at the front, as he finished in 2nd in a Pro-Am. That's going to be huge points for him. But this is another replay. I think Piccolo could have gotten that move done, but just went way too deep into the final corner there.
Yeah, just misjudged it slightly. And then it was so close, and even Lani nearly got his teammate, or not teammate, his fellow countryman at the end of the race. But yeah, Bramley will be delighted to hold on to that place. And even Pedersen, despite having that 4th place seemingly locked up for most of that race, I think he'll take the 5th position right there. We have the session transition now, going from Heat 1 over to Heat 2. We won't be able to show you the grid, but I will just talk you through the top few names. We've got Pascal Costa and Nicholas Nolder, both Impulse Racing drivers. They are on the front row of the grid for this Heat 2. They're ahead of Corey Lazarus and Joseph Dimbeloy, Augustin Bernier in 5th place, and Warren Despotakis, Hemming Strand, Andrews in 10th place, and Steve Clay's top of the amateur drivers in 11th.
Yeah, as the
just
drivers
got
anxiously
Tony...
wait.
Yeah, they're all waiting for Tony Despotakis, but he's now got on the grid. So the top 8 are all pro, so should be a very competitive start. But Impulse Racing, crucially, with the front row locked out. Let's see what they can do with it. The 1-2-3 of Costa, looking for a 2nd race win of the season. It's not a good start for his teammate. He'll be under pressure straight away from Corey Lazarus. The Impulse drivers might try to give each other a toe down to toe 1, but I don't think it's going to help because he is falling backwards right now as Nicholas Nolder having to go to the inside just to protect P3. It's Lazarus up into 2nd places. Not many changes behind these drivers, but Bernier is trying to make a change to that. He's trying to get past Dimbeloy for 4th and 5th places.
Well, we just rode on board with Luke Andrews there, getting very elbowsy out to Matt Strand there for 9th place. Managed to squeeze past him going into turn 3 as we head down this long straight. One of the most chaotic parts of this entire race. We saw it happen in Heat 1, where we had a huge pile-up down here at turn 5. Is it going to happen again? Let's hope not. Let's hope we can all keep it clean. Bit of a lock-up from a couple of the drivers, but I think we're going to get through completely clean this time, as there's 2 cars going side by side as we head up the hill into turn 6. That was a bit of a wiggle there for Augustin Bernier. And now, well, he was battling with Warren, and that little bit of a wiggly moment costing him a bit of time. But that's a bit of a send from, I believe, Bjorklund on Ryan Walker, getting extremely close to the back of the Brit there, just about managing to stop in time. But a very heart-in-mouth moment for him, but completely clean from all of our drivers, which must admit, a little bit shocked.
Yeah, Sing Donk was the one who lost the most time, down 10 places. But yeah, apart from that, he's everyone's got driving very well so far. As there might be a move for the 295, that's ambitious, and that was Porto Ruiz trying to get past Strand. They both lost each other a lot of time by taking a compromised line, but Strand remains in P10. He's run wide though. You'll have the inside for the final corner, but through goes Porto Ruiz, the Andorran driver, gets him past the Norwegian, and still that top 12, remember, gets straight through to the A final. It's currently Ryan Walker, the last driver in that position, as we've got some teammates. It's Cube Controls with Pato Corsa, and it's Luke Andrews passing Miles Hemming.
Very simple overtake there as they headed into the first corner. Corner that we've already seen a few drivers been caught out already. Some drivers going extremely wide there. I think that was Matt Strand who was basically nearly on the gravel on the outside. He lost a place to Ryan Walker because of that mistake, but has now managed to sneak back past the Brits as they are going side by side for 11th and 12th. They have to be careful though, because remember, only the top 12 go straight through into the A final. They've got Bjorklund, Mean, Clays not too far behind, as Bjorklund having to defend from the cars behind. That's very deep from Ryan Walker, trying to squeeze Matt Strand onto the outside runoff, and just about holding on to that 11th place, as he desperately is going to be holding on to that top 12 spot. I believe for most of this race he's going to be looking in his rearview mirror, and that's a bit of rallying on the outside of turn 7, but luckily not long enough of a straight for anyone. Oh, he's gone deep again. He's feeling the pressure here, and right, I mean, he needs to keep a hold of this 11th place spot, because I feel like if he falls to 12, it's just going to get worse from there, as that driver's getting contact into the carousel, and that's Mean, and I believe Clays who made bumper-to-bumper contact there, and that was just too close for comfort going through the carousel, which you do not want to be doing.
Yeah, sort of. I think the move sort of started quite early, but then they sort of went alongside. It was only on the exit that they finally made contact. Here comes Ikosas, and he completely outbreak himself. And now up the inside, that was risky from Igor Kos, another driver who had a qualifying ban for this round. He hasn't quite made the progress that Apache made in Heat 1, who had the same penalty. But of course, there's been so few incidents in this race 2 in comparison to race 1. That he hasn't been gifted so many places, but he'll be looking to get into the top 12. He's a few seconds away from that right now, is Kos, but getting past Verm is a good start to that. Strand has got past Walker, and honestly, it feels like a matter of time, but has he got the move stuck? Because Walker's got the inside, and Strand knows not to fight that one too much, and still Walker's holding on to that P11, and he'll be hoping now that Strand has to go on the defence, and the drivers behind will start losing each other time. Meanwhile, Steve Clays has made a mistake, and he's down to 15th place, but still top of the amateur drivers.
Well, you were saying Igor Kos hasn't made as much progress as Apache did in the first race. Well, sure, but they're still up 9 places in the opening 3 laps, as we're about to go 3 wide as we head down into turn 5, making contact on the straight. That is not what you want to be doing, lads, as we head into said corner. Jamie Edwards there got very close to Clays, and I think kind of realised it, backed out, and is just going to sit behind and try and attack Verm instead. And, he tried to take 2 in one corner, and probably thought, yeah, this is a bit optimistic, and decided not to continue trying to ram Clays off of the road. Let's see what actually happened. I mean, that's a closing gap. I think most drivers would be able to see that, and definitely thought better of it, backed out of it as soon as he got onto the grass. And, well, he nearly got ahead of Verm, to be fair, but is still, unfortunately, in 17th for Jamie Edwards.
Yeah, he's, the Brits has got some work to do in order to get anywhere near the top 12, but of course, even if they don't get into the top 12, it's still will affect their grid positions for the B final, so everything to play for, and obviously points as well are at stake for all 4 of these races. Costa now 9/10 of a second clear of Corey Lazarus. His teammate Nicholas Nolder hasn't been able to recover from that poor start, and he remains in P3. Dimbolo back where he started in P4, and then it's Bernier who's dropped 2 places behind Warren and Despotakis so far, but they're all still in a queue up to P10, and then of course it's Ryan Walker who's been making a lot of mistakes but not enough to lose any places, and that is where the big chasm comes in this field. I've got a battle a little bit further back. These are for the very back positions. Humberston involved, and Humberston ahead of Jay Walsh still, albeit they are both behind JS Mean, who of course we saw have a spin earlier on. Basson has had a slight issue there, and he's now back to 25th position. He's dropped behind Singerdon.
I also find it a little bit, I don't know if this was a complete curse, but you were mentioning the top 10 being within 5 seconds of each other, and then Porter Ruiz decided to make a mistake at turn 1 and lost about 2 seconds. Luckily, he's in kind of no man's land at the moment. He's got such a big gap to Ryan Walker behind because they've been battling so aggressively that he could afford to make a mistake into that first corner, and probably is going to be taking the rest of this race fairly easy, as I think there's still a lot of opportunity for drivers to get into this top 12. I think Ryan Walker, being a very aggressive defensive driver as we've seen so far this race, probably going to hold up Matt Strand and Bjorklund, and is going to bring the likes of Koss and possibly Clays back into the fight. Although I believe, having said that, the next lap is going to be the white flag, and honestly these races just fly by. This is what happens when you come to Road America. 5 laps are 10 minutes instead of you know, the usual 7 or 8 laps we get in these heat races.
Yeah, the time really is running out. It is so little time to do anything this heat. Like, it is almost a case of just trying to like consolidate on your grid position. Qualifying matters more than sort of how you perform in this race, because it is so tricky to make up places. 18 minutes, of course, the A final does give them a bit more time. But here we go. This is the battle that matters a lot. 11th, 12th, 13th. And it's Matt Strand who might just get past Ryan Walker. This time Walker, as he has had on previous attempts, got the inside line for turn 1, and he holds on. But underneath the pair of them comes Kim Andre Bjorklund, and he now might move into P11. He's got the inside line, but this battle will continue all the way down this next straight. Strand, if anything, a little bit too tight. Can he make it 3 wide? It is a narrow circuit, and meanwhile, Igor Koss looming in the background. He is making up time every single corner on these drivers.
Well, I did say that these guys fighting, and we are going to be going 3 wide into turn 5 as Ryan Walker aggressively trying to outbrake every single driver. And awkwardly, it's kind of worked out for him there. I mean, that was unsportsmanlike, but fair, as Bjorklund tries to do the same thing and takes him and Ryan Walker completely off the road, and that's going to kill their chances. And is that Clays involved as well somehow, as Bjorklund falling all the way back to 20th place? And, well, now it's Igor Koss ending up inside the top 12. Matt Strand, excuse me, was the driver better off in all of that, as he just stayed back, let Walker and Bjorklund fight into that corner, and just swooped past the pair of them once they took each other out. And was that a bit of red mist from Bjorklund, do you think, Sam?
Yes, I think it was. I think he's been fighting that one for, well, at least he's been in close proximity for a lot of this race. And you can see how those two went on the inside. I think Bjorklund was basically on the grass, and I think he'll argue, well, I had my nose ever so slightly alongside, and therefore I had the right to go for that move. And I'm sure Walker will thoroughly disagree and believe it was an over-aggressive move. Costa wins though, Heat 2. He'll get on the front row for the A final ahead of Lazarus, and the top 12 are pretty set. Koss, we just saw making that move on Strand earlier on in the lap, so he manages to get into P11. That's a big success from him after not doing qualifying. And Verm will be best of the rest. Edwards will be very pleased with that. He ends up top of the AMS, which did not look like it would be the case, because Steve Clays ends up in the second to last position after a stunning qualifying for Steve Clays. He's got nothing from it for this heat. I'll have to try to buzz through the B final. You can see the amount of damage he's got on that car, crabbing across the line.
Oh yeah, I mean that's we got two very different races in those opening two heats, I believe. And yeah, Stephen Clay's, I'm not actually quite sure how he managed to get involved in that. I don't know if it was just a sympathy spin from him, but he did unfortunately get involved, and he had a brief moment to swoop in and catch maybe a 12th or a 13th place there to put himself in a better position, but unfortunately just managed to miss out.
Well, it's Jacinto then on pole for the B final. Then it's Farrier, of course, will almost certainly get through here. He only didn't go through the heat because he made a mistake. Edwards, Felvers and Parker are in the top 6, but watch out for the pro of Godestad up there in P7 as well. 2 pros in this B final. It should be a really competitive one. Who name a couple of drivers who you think you're going to get through, Aaron?
Oh, I mean, it's a difficult one. I think it's a very competitive field. I think probably Jacinto, Farrier, Edwards, Godestad, and it's just that last driver. I think Velasquez. I think he's going to do an amazing comeback.
Well, he's from 13th. He's got into the A final both attempts. Leader of the Amateur Championship. See what he can do. But on pole position, it's Jacinto. And away we launch. It's a poor start for the 313. It's a great start for the 131, though, of Diogo Farrier, who's almost into the lead straight away. Bad start for Jacinto from pole. He's down to 3rd already. But it will be Verm versus Farrier. Farrier from 3rd on the grid is up into 1st position. Another fantastic start from the Portuguese driver. There's an incident in behind. It's Jamie Edwards who started near the top, and Michael Velasquez as well. Amateur Championship leader, and Aaron's pick has gone to the back of the order. Big disappointment for 2 hopefuls in this B final.
Oh, yep, I think it's best if I don't predict anything ever again, and I just quit, to be honest. 3 out of my 6 predictions are now suffering, pretty much, as well, we get back to the action. Into turn 5 we go. Always a tricky spot here at Road America on this first lap. We've seen it a few times today already, where it just gets so narrow with 2 or 3 cars going oh so close into that corner. But I think everyone this time round managing to get through relatively safely. But unfortunately, the next corner into turn 6, we didn't manage that, as that's Baumann, well, drifting his way, quite frankly, up the hill, as Velasquez manages to get past him. And, well, the German has, I was going to say, a lot of work to do, but I honestly think that would be undermining it.
Yeah, only the top 6 get through into the A final. Remember, it is an extended race, but we've got some very good drivers at the front of the order. Let's have a look at what happened. Jamie Edwards was right in the mix. I think he had a decent start. Some of the drivers ahead of him. Look at that. He was really a good start. Up into, must be P5, but then he had contact. I think it was with James Parker, who's also dropped 4 places. I know we've got some fans of 88 Tech in chat, and they'll be very disappointed with that instant there. Ryan Walker up into 6th position now, as we get another replay. This is what happened to Borman. So he was already a little bit slow coming out of turn 5, and then it may have even been parked on the inside. Maybe one of the other 88 Tech drivers. Not really anyone's fault, that one, and Borman, the one who loses out.
Yeah, difficult start for a lot of our B final drivers today. I mean, this is what you get in this final. A driver's being extremely aggressive. A bit of flashing, single headlight flashing there, which I've never seen in iRacing before, but somehow Felvers has managed to unlock that feature. I want to ask how he's done that. And there's 3 cars off into the first corner. What on earth has happened here? That's Stephen Clay's Thornton, I believe, and Basson, who have all managed to go off of the track at the first corner. Was they all together, or did they all spin in sympathy? And that's another driver in the background going off again. And that looks like Mean, who has towed back to the pit, so maybe he's had damage. And now we've only got 25 drivers already. Mean and Singendonk completely dead and out of this one, as Velasquez unfortunately losing a place there to Buraseg into turn 5. And we can see, well, this is with Diogo Farrier. This is another move, another look at into turn 1. And just a little bit of an off track there. Yeah, we've seen that a few times from drivers today, and that's kind of what I was talking about into turn one. It's so easy to catch yourself out going into there, just a little bit late braking, trying to take too much speed. But this is what happens with 3 drivers going off. And wow, it was just one driver getting a little bit too deep and caused a bit of a chain reaction.
James Parker, the one who gets away with it. But we'll have a view of what happened to Clay, because he was, I think, a little bit detached from everything in front. But he must have been put off, or maybe he had 2 cars right in front. No, he was
gone
put
far
off,
too.
really. And he can't really blame anyone but himself for that one. Steve, he locks up the front right, very easy to do, and went straight on in the corner. So it's Barry who's leading, and will almost certainly get there. I know he did make a mistake in his heats, but he looks pretty good. Carl Felber staying close though, and Joe Vega Goldstad, fantastic drive from him. From 7th on the grid, he's up into P3. There's a bit of a gap back to Thomas Verm and Matteo Jacinto, who at the moment would be the only amateur driver to get into the A final. I think round 1 we had 3. I think, dare I say, last week we may have even had 6. But today we might only have 1. He's got Ryan Walker, who's done well. He's up there in P6, and Kim Onji Bjorklund, who's up 9 places and up into 7th. But really, I think any of the top 10 still have a decent shot of this one.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, the amateur drivers struggling at one of the tracks on iRacing where I would say experience matters the most, as there is Jacinto going up the inside of Verm for 4th place, making himself even more comfortable inside of that top 6. It's now Verm and Walker on the brink of relegation, as Bjorklund, who we know is quick himself, up 9 places already in this race, and he could knock any one of those drivers out, as the guys behind Michelle, Gruson and Parker all getting extremely wide going through turn 7, and a bit of contact there as Bjorklund now trying to make a move around the outside here at the carousel. Very tricky to make that work, but he's damn well going to try it anyway. It is the Norwegian, but you can see there he's going to get an amazing launch off the corner. I wouldn't recommend going side by side into the kink in these cars, and thankfully he listens to that advice, as now he should have a fantastic opportunity to go up the inside into Canada corner if he can get close enough. But I think he's just about a car length or two too far back this time round, and Thomas Verm safe in 6th for now. But I have the feeling that Bjorklund has yeah, we cut to the back end of his Porsche Cup car. Well, this is well, he's hounding him at this point. I think it's just a matter of time.
And Woods has had an issue. He's dropped outside. I think he will drop outside the top 20 after a bit of contact. But here comes Bjorklund again. Bjorklund's very much been the Norwich City so far of this meeting. He's been on the brink of promotion for the entire race of getting into the A final. Just missing out so far, but he might get into the top 6 now. He's on the inside of Verm, and I think he has got that one 90% done. That's a big move for Kim Onje Bjorklund, with the drivers behind chasing them down, and that gives him a decent chance. He's up 10 places now from his race start.
Yeah, it was a fairly textbook move from Kim Andre Bjorklund, and well, obviously my advice for the foreseeable future would be take it easy. Now you're inside the top 6. It really doesn't matter. It's just going to be 1 or 2 grid spots that you're going to gain at this point. But I've said that before, and most drivers, of course, choose to ignore that advice because we're racing drivers.
Alistair Hatcher?
We can.
Yeah, I think
take
Alistair
a look at
Hatcher.
him.
Yeah, there's an absolutely massive fight currently for P16 going on, and basically there's about 6 drivers on top of one another, and I think it's going to implode very soon. Steve Clays has been able to get ahead though of this pack, so he might be able to drive away, but yeah, Hatcher and Clays were getting very, very close into turn 5. They changed positions, and Hatcher now trying to hold on to against Borman, who's come back well off though for Jay Walsh. And he loses a lot of time. Just a stream of cars come past, and it seems like he's either got overheated tyres or dirty tyres or damage on that car. He's having to turn left into a right-hander.
Oh dear, there's another driver going off there. That's Velasquez, who I'm not quite sure how he's managed to get wide on the exit of the carousel. Maybe a bit of contact, as Jacinto
Issues with
really
Jacinto. He's dropped a place to
here.
Walker.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I thought he was ahead of Walker, but he's dropped behind and seems to be really struggling here and needs to be careful because Thomas Verm, Michelle, Parker and co are all getting closer and closer. So he really does need to watch his rear view mirrors now, as Bjorklund, I can imagine, might try and go for this move to make himself more secure into that top 6, but just, again, a little bit too far back, as Parker and Michelle going side by side into the first corner. Michelle just about sneaking ahead, but Parker looking up the inside into turn 3, but just a little bit too far back, as Griefson also lurking around trying to get some moves done, as they need to kind of get the hammer down and make some progress, as they do have a good chance to get into this top 6 still, as here's Goddestad making his way past Velvis for second place. And I don't think Velvis was fighting that one too hard. And there goes Kim-Andre Bjorklund. Jacinto is now outside of that top 6 as Thomas Verm now goes up the inside, up the hill. And Jacinto caught napping there down into turn 5. And has lost 2 places in the span of 2 corners. And plus, remember, of course, the mistake that he made putting him in 5th in the first place.
Yeah, the pressure started to tell on Jacinto. He did not defend this one, and I think he will regret not doing that. Of course, at this point, he's P6 and still in the progression spots, but then it's how slow Bjorklund is mid-corner and the fact that he runs a little bit wide. That opens the door for Verm, and Jacinto is not going to get through to the A final if it ends like this. It's still got 2 more laps to go. I think Jacinto's got the pace to do it. It's much easier, of course, to be attacking than defending, or at least to try to gain something you don't have rather than defending what you do. And Jacinto's going to go the long way around. This might work because they're going to go up into Bill Mitchell Bend, and Verm was very, very cautious, and Jacinto is back into P6, but now Michaud, Parker and Greason are right on the tail of these drivers. Here comes Michaud, he's going almost into the back, and look at Jacinto, he had to come back again. Or Verm, sorry, came back again, but Parker is now on the inside. Any one of these drivers could get through in the top 6 before the end of this race.
I mean, could you imagine if that was the final lap on the final corner? That would have been some finish to the race. If it was the heat races, it would have been the end. But we've still got probably another lap or 2 to go in this race. So that's extremely wide for Parker, but manages to keep it pointing in the right direction. And now it's Jacinto once again at the front of this field. They've completely lost touch with the drivers ahead. So this, oh dearie me, this is all the way down from 6th to 12th place. They're separated by 1.5 seconds between 6 cars. That is absolutely insane. And this is what we've got for the next lap and a half. All of these guys fighting for the exact same spot at the chance to get into that A final and climb up the championship standings. As Ryan Walker and contact between himself and Michelle as they still somehow are pointing themselves facing forwards. I thought that would have been the end for the Frenchman, but he's managed to keep it under control. And Ryan Walker, we know how aggressive he's been on the defense, and once again getting his elbows out in this race.
Yeah, that was Adam Greason actually, who was in P7 and defending on that occasion. And yeah, having to do absolutely everything. So still Jacinto holding on to that P6. I imagine Parker will be absolutely kicking himself. He tried to go around the outside at turn 1, but he got on the gravel. There's so much gravel now out on that turn 1, especially with the offs we've seen in this race, that it is treacherous, and he had no grip once he tried to go for the overtake. So Jacinto with a little bit of breathing room. We've got 1 more lap to go. And Greason is the one driver who certainly has got it in his control to try to go for the move. Farrier defending against Goddestad. This is just for 25th position on the grid, but we'll see if Goddestad is going to go for it and try to win the race from 7th on the grid.
Wow, I mean, it would be an amazing comeback for Goddestad as he tries to go for the lead of the race. I mean, this is incredibly risky. He doesn't need to do this, but that is a move and a half for Goddestad. I mean, that is a statement if I've ever seen one. That is an amazing and brave move from the 166. And what? I mean, can he keep a hold of it as Farrier is going to have a huge amount of slip shame coming down this straight into turn 5. He's probably going to have to be a little bit aggressive as he is onto the grass, shoves himself up the inside, onto the brakes we go, up the inside. He goes door-to-door contact with Goddestad. They're now side by side coming up the hill into turn 6. Is Goddestad going to be able to hold it around the outside? It's super tricky up there. He still manages to keep a hold of that first place and the inside line into turn 7. And Farrier desperately trying to fight this one. I mean, again, remember, this is just for a grid spot. Just for one grid spot, not points, not anything else. It's just a grid spot. That's it. And they are fighting like it's, well, the championship final, and everything matters. Whoever finishes ahead of one another is going to win. And that was some quality racing between those two, and I don't think it's going to be over. They are still so close, going through the King. And, well, down into Canada Corner, are we going to get another wheel-banging moment? Yes, we are. They are side by side. Honestly, they could probably kiss each other. They're that close. As they head into Canada Corner, can Goddestad hold on to the lead? He is squeezing Farrier all the way to the white line. As still, they are wheel-banging through these final few corners, pushes Goddestad onto the grass, and that has pushed him down nearly to third as Felvis trying to sneak a move up the inside, and I think that could be it. It might be a run to the line between Felvis and Goddestad. As well, I mean, Felvis has had an absolutely amazing run. He's gonna bump Goddestad down to third place, and that was a superb finish by our top 3, and that was scintillating stuff on the final lap, and they should all be very proud of themselves. That was entertaining, and well, they all managed to keep it clean in the end. Oh, and well, Jacinto managed to hold on to 6th. By the way, he's the only AM driver making it into the A final. Oh, wow, that was exhausting.
Yeah, that was a fantastic battle. So risky though, like so risky between Farrier and Goddestad. But Goddestad ended up losing him a position in all of that as well. But could have so easily been, especially with the contact model on iRacing at the moment, could have so easily been a bit of iRacing glue and would have ruined it for those drivers. Here's a replay of the finish, and of course you can see Farrier basically giving Felvis the draft, and that's what got Felvis the position. So Farrier maybe a bit frustrated with that battle with Goddestad and wanted to make him pay for it on that run to the line. But amazing performance from Jacinto there. We've got a couple of big fans in the YouTube chat. Thanks for tuning along, guys. And yeah, that is a mighty effort to be on the defense for so long. Made a couple of mistakes, even fell outside the top 6 for a moment, but he managed to hold on. We go into a 3-minute warm-up now before we go for the A final. But I will take this opportunity to thank Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring this series. They're giving a 1-month free subscription to everyone who takes part in the series, which is really helping a lot of these drivers find some extra pace in this Porsche Cup car. And of course, Apex Racing Academy providing setups for, I think, about 50 cars now in iRacing. All the GT3s and the GTPs as well, Porsche Cups, single-seaters, rallycross cars, so much stuff being offered by Apex Racing Academy. And you can go get yourself a bronze, silver or gold subscription over at apexracingac.com if you want to find some extra pace on iRacing. Definitely check it out.
Didn't even know some of the rallycross cars could have setups on them, quite frankly, because
yeah, well, we've got John Robertson, the still the reigning champion in the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. Yes, the championship happened in 2021, but he's still the reigning champion.
Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't seen anyone do any rallycrossing on iRacing in a while. I think, when was the last time they even added a rallycross car? I think it must have been years ago at this point.
It was a really weird time in, what was it, like 2019, where rallycross just became huge. You remember when, like, rallycross, like, where people just started taking it seriously in real life, and like, I remember Project Cars 2, I think, added it, and that was quite a big deal. iRacing added it, and now you don't really hear a lot about rallycross, a whole lot, even though it's basically the same as what it was before.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, you know, a bit of tarmac, bit of dirt, you know, converting already used tracks into some dirt tracks. I think the biggest one that comes to mind for me, I think, is Barcelona. I mean, there's going to be Rallycross fans out there that are going to completely disagree with me and call me an idiot for not knowing that it's obviously a track I've never heard of. But, I mean, yeah, but Barcelona. I mean, usually when I play a game and it has some Rallycross element to it, it's usually got the Barcelona Rallycross circuit. I think the last one I played was Gran Turismo 7, which had it. But I haven't played Gran Turismo 7 in a while, so.
I didn't know Gran Turismo 7 had Rallycross.
You didn't know?
I did not know that. Maybe I need to investigate that. I have no idea about that. So how many circuits does it have? Like how many Rallycross circuits does it have?
I think it has a few. I mean, I know it has the Barcelona Rallycross circuit. I know it has a few rally circuits, like completely off-road circuits.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Because
don't
got
actually know
snow
how
and
many.
stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, but I don't know how many exactly Rallycross circuits they have. I know definitely Barcelona is one. I think I'm just gonna look it up because I'm now you're making me second guess myself. I don't know if I'm having a fever dream or not. And well, while I'm doing that, you can go through the grid.
Yeah, 30 cars remain then for this final race of the evening. This is where the biggest points are awarded. I won't go through the entire grid, but Dalton Zavadil and Pascal Costa, the 2 race winners so far we've had this season, starting alongside each other on the front row of the grid. Misha Berger could score huge points, could even take the lead of the Pro-Am Championship if he can finish in a similar place to where he is starting for this race. And yeah, then you've got to go a while back to the second place Pro-Am driver, Miroslav Saboda in P11. And the only amateur driver is last on the grid, Matej Jacinta. He's got nothing to lose. Just by drivers dropping out in front of him, he should be able to get a fair few points in this race. So an amazing opportunity for the Swiss driver to score some big points today. We've just got a few more seconds of the grid. Matej Hapacha is the one driver yet to get on the grid, but he is now there. And a huge start to this race. It's a long run down to turn 1. It could be decisive. Dalton Zavadil versus Pascal Costa. The 5 lights at Road America are on. And away we launch. It's a strong start for Zavadil, slightly better for Costa, but nowhere near close enough to attempt a move. And it seems like it's a very competitive start for everyone on the front 3 rows, apart from Niklas Nolde, once again falling back just as he did in his heats, and he's down 3 places. Ben Pedersen trying to get past him, it looks like he has, and Nolde's down 4 places, off the circuit almost, and really, really cautious is the German driver. He's down 4 places from his race start, and the big change in the top 10.
Yeah, there's a driver going off there in the background into turn 3. I believe that was Felvers. He's had a bit of a difficult start. Didn't lose too much time though, so still definitely in the fight. And well, speaking of fighting, are we finally going to get a fight for the first place positions? No, unfortunately not. Pascal Costa choosing to be a little bit passive. The rest of the grid though, not choosing to be passive whatsoever, as they're all trying to basically punch one another, theoretically, out of their positions to try and gain ahead of one another, but it's still fairly clean. The top 29 drivers, so basically the entire field, still very much close together. It's just Hapacha, actually, who might have been that driver that spun off at turn 3, as he's about 5 or 6 seconds behind everyone else. And that's round for one of the cars. No.
Not a good evening for him already. It wasn't a good qualifying for him. And it's got even worse for the Greek driver. He will definitely not be second place in the championship after tonight. We might get a quick replay of how it happened to him. He's behind the 109 here of Niklas Nolde, so around P11. And there's a little bit of a slap. And actually, there was contact from the driver behind. I think that's Augustin Bernier. He may well receive a penalty for that incident. The stewards will have a look at it after the race. Misha Berger's had a poor start. He's down 4 places. Actually a decent start for Berger, but he dropped 1 at turn 3, I think 1 in turn 5, 1 in turn 6, and then 1 later on in the lap as well. Just sort of leaked positions and moving backwards. And he's moving backwards again. He's now down 5 places. And here he is battling with Ben Pedersen. However, those are teammates. They're both walk racing drivers. But he might lose another one now to Corby Warren, who's going the long way round to turn 1, At least that one he's able to keep. Bernier now trying to get past Norda despite making contact before, not holding back, and we've got off for Berger, and he's dropped more places, almost 3 drivers going past him at a time. And he's down to 13th place, and he's lost the Pro-Am lead to Salvatore Lane now, leader of the Pro-Ams.
I don't think many people would have predicted that, considering Berger started all the way up there in 3rd as a Pro-Am driver, of course. And well, after putting himself in such a great position, he's had an absolutely dreadful start to this race and is down right in the mix of the Pro-Ams once again. And well, at least for us, it's going to prove a very entertaining fight for the Pro-Am lead between Lane, Sawada, Berger, Andrews and Piccolo. All extremely competitive and extremely fast drivers in the Pro-Am category. And well, that's going to be one to watch. Hopefully they can all keep it together. Lane currently leading that pack of cars as the top 10 are completely swamped by pro cars at the current moment, as Godestad, Hemming, Koss all trying to make their way probably past these Pro-Am guys. It's not going to be easy, as Porter Ruiz there getting a little bit of a bump from Crawford going through the carousel. Bit risky trying to bump another car through there. We've seen it happen a few times today where drivers have made contact through there and spun each other around, but this time they just about managed to keep it pointing in the general right direction.
Let's have a replay of Matt Strand getting contact. So he actually ran into the back of another driver. They were all running into the back of one another, and then he was very cautious trying to get past. That was Matej Hapacha. He was spinning around and he had to take the very long route round to avoid him. We now watch Hapacha's teammate, Andrea Del Piccolo, for ADX Racing Esports. And he is right in this train. Everyone's basically in a train from 1st down to 19th. There's not a gap larger than a second for all of these drivers. This is mega racing. It is beautiful to see. All these fantastic liveries. Around this Road America circuit on a very sunny day, absolutely shining. Caden Crawford, though, that's not a beautiful sight for him. He is round, and was someone else spinning as well?
Yeah,
just as he.
I think I saw that.
Someone seemed to be losing it. Did they catch it? Maybe they caught it.
I saw that as well. It was a driver going a little bit too optimistic into that first corner.
I think it may have been. No, sorry. I think it may have been Gordon Marshall. I think it was a Walk Racing driver who had a spin.
It looked like a fairly dark liveried car, so whoever that was, fair play. As Hemming and Porter Ruiz and Matt Strand as well, all having a massive incident down at turn 5. That's about 4 cars involved there. And well, again, is it another case of drivers trying to be a little bit too optimistic, coming into this corner, outbraking themselves? As well, that's exactly what's happened from Mike Hemming's perspective, and then other drivers spinning or making contact in sympathy.
But there was a separate incident. Ruiz's incident was totally separate, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it Strand's incident? Maybe totally separate. Yeah. I think he may have just run into the back of another driver because he had a puncture before he even got to the corner. And this might tell us Ruiz. Ruiz was involved in the first one, so yeah, Aaron was right. And yeah, he just got. He could have avoided that, actually, Aaron. But he just got. I know. Was it overexcited or just put off? A bit scared? What happened?
I mean, yeah, that just happens as a driver. You see something happen in front of you, and your instinct reaction as a human being is to stamp the throttle down and try and avoid it. But obviously, in a car like this, you're going to spin. And well, these guys probably know that and have a bit more experience. As finally, we have some battling going on for the leaders. That is Pascal Costa making his way into first place. Finally, he's gone for that move. Kind of been coming over the last few laps. And look at Corey Lazarus. I said that he might be able to put himself into the fight as Bramley and Dimbolo going side by side. The two Brits, that is a unfriendly nudge from Hayden Bramley. That looks a little bit like it was telling him to go in that general direction. But Dimbolo, an aggressive overtaker, definitely not going to back down from a fright. The two Brits fighting for 5th and 6th. And look at Ben Pedersen as well, lurking behind. And Colby Warren as well. All of these guys are just trying to catch each other out, force each other into mistakes. as it looks like Bramley's just about managed to hold off Dimbolo for that 5th place. But the cars behind are lurking. They will pounce at any opportunity. So, and that's the difficult thing about this Road America circuit is one tiny error and you will have about 3 or 4 cars on your back bumper immediately.
Yeah, any mistake is so punished when the field is as close as it is today. It is absolutely awesome to see the racing that we've witnessed. 5 places gained for Augustin Bernier. Could be a penalty coming his way. We should say that. It did seem pretty bad what he did to Despotakis, who's actually out of the race now. So he'll finish in 30th place. By the way, Matteo Jacinto, amateur driver, barely squeaked in. Squeaked in by what, 3/10 of a second in the B final, up to 20th. That is why you want to get into the A final, because when incidents happen in front of you, you can get a lot of free places. And he's up 10. Bjorklund's up 10. Gonestad up 11, all drivers who got through from the B final and making it count right now. There is Jacinto, who'll be very close to the championship summit, rivaling Velasquez, who had a bad evening, it must be said. Bad heat, bad qualifying, bad heat, and bad B final. This battle is being renewed again. Hayden Brown cannot drop Joseph Dimbolo, but Dimbolo will not find his way around there, and he might have to be dangerous about what he finds behind, because Ben Pedersen is closer than ever now.
Well, I mean, we know how hard of a fighter Dimbolo can be. We've seen it over the last few seasons in Porsche Cup, and but especially when you have 2 Brits fighting over the same space. I don't know, something poetic about it. As a Brit myself, when 2 Brits want the same thing, usually doesn't end very well, as Ben Pedersen trying to squeeze his way into a gap that's not really there. And, well, that was absolutely terrifying. If I was Joseph Dimbolo, I would have been scared. And yet Bernier shoving his way up the inside of Colby Warren. And Warren being pushed out wide, and Nold managed to get past as well. But Warren now pushing Nold onto the grass as they head through turn 7. Just a lot of argy-bargy, elbows getting out today, and I think a lot of people are being quite aggressive here at Road America.
Yeah, this is brilliant here from Bernier. Real opportunistic move. Got on the power. And yeah, the 101 thought about going on the inside of Colby Warren. Thought about going on the inside, then left it open. And then because he was following the same line as the driver, had to brake early. And Bernier, despite having to take a super tight line for that corner, still managed to wedge his car up the inside. That's a fantastic manoeuvre. He's making good progress, up 6 places now. Is Augustin Bernier, the highest gain of anyone in the top 14 positions. You would not bet against him potentially getting 1 or 2 more places by the end of this race.
Yeah, he's put on a brilliant show so far. Has the Frenchman, and well, it's not been easy for him, of course. As we look a little bit further back in the field, by the way, Bjorklund and Jacinto up 11 places from where they started. Of course, getting through from the B final, both of those guys, and it's not been easy for them so far. Got quite a gap ahead of them, to Igor Kos, so I think this might be the last few places that they managed to gain, at least on track, unless there are some more mistakes that we see here at Road America. And yeah, the fight further up continues between Larnate, Sabota, Berger, Piccolo, and of course between Bramley, Dimbolo, Pedersen, Bernier, and Warren. And well, eventually, they've been battling for so long that it's actually brought those Pro-Am drivers into the mix here. And we could see those guys battling as Ben Pedersen and Bernier, and also Piccolo and Berger going side by side. It's so difficult to keep up with all of the fighting going on here. And Piccolo just about keeping a nose in, but Berger's having none of it, squeezing the Italian on the outside and managing to hold on to 3rd place. Piccolo thought about going up the inside, but there was just not enough room into that corner.
Yeah, I was scared that Del Piccolo was going to go for one of the dumbest moves of the year, when I thought he was going to go sweeping from the right to the left and dive down the inside to get the position back, but fortunately he thought better of it and remained in 14th place. But yeah, these guys stop battling, they might well gain to the back of the train ahead. Looks like Hayden Bramley, who of course is a rookie driver, and what a fantastic addition he has been to the championship. So many experienced drivers, you know, Costa experience, Zaratil's done seasons, Lazarus, Hammer, Dimblow's experience, Bernier's done ARA prototypes before, of course Pedersen, a very experienced driver in the series, a former AM champion, and then you got Hayden Bramley, complete rookie, and he is taking it to these drivers. Really a very talented driver. I hesitate to say young, he might be 50 years old, I don't know, but he's inexperienced at least. He's part of Almeida Racing Academy, and Dimblow not quite as close as he has been on previous laps, and with everyone with the draft on one another, not really any moves coming quite yet. Bernier, of course, as I think he's mentioned on the previous lap, and did get past Ben Pedersen. He is making stunning work right now, is Augustin Bernier. He's up to P7 now. Could he get P5? It would be an amazing drive, and maybe an inclination that he needs to improve on his qualifying, because it seems like his race pace has no issues with it whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. I think he did have his own incident in his heat, if I remember correctly. I might be suffering from dementia, I'm not quite sure, as we look further back at Goddestad. On the back of Piccolo, I think he did have an incident, Bernier, in his heat. I'm not quite sure there, but yeah, you're right, he does probably needs to work on his qualifying just a little bit to put himself in a better position. As again, further back are Pasha and Marshall battling for 23rd place. As Pasha, I think having that incident on the first lap, it really has hindered him. I think he was about 6 seconds behind the nearest car when he went off. I don't think we saw what happened to him, unfortunately. But I can imagine, probably, as we've seen time and time again here at Road America, probably into turn 5, people getting too optimistic and going for moves that they probably shouldn't.
I can't see this one, unfortunately. Can you see it,
Well, I can look over at handy-dandy Joshua Wilkie's screen share, and, well, that's what's happened. 2 other cars getting involved. Excuse me, 2 other cars getting into contact, and one of them was sent into the back of Hapasha going into turn 5. And I was right, it was turn 5, of course it was. And yeah, complete innocent bystander in that was Hapasha. So this race has just been severely unlucky for him. And well, he's just lingered down in 24th place. As well, we're talking about Bernier, he's making even more progress. Is he going to try and brave this run round the outside into turn 1? Joseph Dimbler, though, not going to relinquish 6th place that easily, Bernier, as it's now Britain versus France. I've seen that battle many, many times over the last 1,000 years. And, well, how's it going to end this time? As I believe this is going to be the second to last lap. So only a few opportunities left for these drivers to make their final few moves. They need to be careful not to allow Hayden Bramley to run away with it, because the more they fight, of course, well, he's just going to completely run away with it, which he kind of already is. The gap has opened up to about a second.
Yeah, Bramley should be safe. What great work from him earlier on in the race when he was really under assault, had to work very hard in order to hold on to that P5. And it's proved lucrative, because not only has he pulled away, obviously, but had he dropped down to 6th place, he would have probably been mired in even further battles and would have been at risk of falling further back. So great performance from the Brit right there. And yeah, Bernier trying to get into 6th place, so that would be as high as he can get. Pedersen under big pressure from Warren, but I think he should be right. You don't really want to be as close as what Warren is going into the kink, but these drivers are very talented and they do have the capabilities of following another drive very close to that kink, despite the turbulent air, despite the lack of visibility as well. Warren closes under braking for Canada corner, and we have just got one more lap of this race to go. The car's getting dirty, the track getting dirty, so much mud and gravel on the track, but there is Pascal Costa still keeping his car pretty clean, and he's 0.77 ahead of the rest of the field. He should be safe, honestly, and he could be on course for a 2nd race victory of the season, and impressively, it'd be his 2nd race victory in the races he's actually attended. He didn't even attend the Queen Seeker, but he will be 100% in the races that he's actually tried at.
I'm sorry, I just was thinking about that for a second, and yeah, because I was trying to think back to the first round, and I was like, did he win his heat race? And I think he did, and I think you're right on that.
Not sure. At least in A finals, he's 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say
right.
the A finals, yes, but I was just wondering if the heats that he's been competing in, if he's done that. But
no,
here we
Bramley
go.
made a mistake.
Bramley has made a mistake, yes, as he's now fallen into the clutches of Dimbolo. It looked almost completely said and done, this battle, as Dimbolo getting pushed onto the gravel by Bramley. Very aggressive defense. Of course, this is the last lap, so no more opportunities after this one. It's going to be completely to the death for this 5th place. And I mean, the rear view mirror of Hayden Bramley looks absolutely terrifying, quite frankly. I would not want to be in this man's position. He has got some of the most competitive Porsche Cup drivers. Oh, that's a spin for Colby Warren from, I think that was 10th place, completely losing concentration and spinning his rear tyres. And he is now down to 16th place. And he was one of the drivers, of course, in that competitive spot to try and gain those final few places. That is extremely wide for Hayden Bramley. And, well, using all of the off-tracks, I guess, if you can, as Dimbolo choosing life into Canada Corner, not going to risk going for an aggressive move. And he's probably going to try and go for a last corner, well, just completely dart out of it and hope that Bernier doesn't try and squeeze up the inside. But unfortunately, he has to go defensive, and they are bumping each other completely. I've never seen anything like that in my life, as Pascal Costa ends up winning the A final.
Went over the instant limit.
Yeah, he
went
did.
over, three of them went over the instant limit. You can't serve it though on the last lap, and it was Pedersen. Pedersen ended up 5th. So Pedersen got past Dimbolo. We've got to get a replay of that. I think maybe from the chopper would be a good idea, because Pedersen gains a bunch of places on the last lap, but it was, well, Warren went over the instant limit, Koss did, Goddestad did, Bernier did, so many went over the instant limit, but you cannot serve it on the last lap of the race. They should have continued and just taken the 42nd. You can see how tight they all were, and Pedersen managing to get an absolutely epic run. That was the slow run from, and were those guys out of fuel or something? The 133 was slow, and they were almost on the brakes. What on earth was going on at the end? The 144 of Dimbolo was braking before the line.
I've never seen the like. Gonna be honest, I've never seen that before. And yeah, I do not know why drivers try and serve a penalty on the final lap.
They had a slowdown. I think they cut the corner so much they got a slowdown. You saw the line that they took.
And he was trying to serve
I
it.
reckon Dimbolo probably didn't even serve the slowdown. I reckon he's probably going to get a post-race penalty.
Yeah, I agree, because even if you do reach 0 seconds, you still haven't managed to serve it in time because of the way that iRacing does its slowdowns. But yeah, I think you're right, because all of them took so much of the outside line into the kink, and possibly at Canada Corner as well. And Dimbolo getting that slowdown.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it was the last corner that they got the slowdown.
Because they all were basically on the apex when they bumped into one another. And wow, that was an incredible finish at the end there. And like you said, a few drivers going over the incident limit, for some reason trying to serve the penalty on the last lap, when you're absolutely right. They should have just continued all the way until the line, because it's not like it's going to make any difference anyway. So yeah, wow. That was one of the strangest finishes I've ever seen in a Porsche Cup race, I must be honest. And Svoboda actually probably was one of the biggest gainers out of all of that. Oh my lord. That's cutting it close, cutting in traffic. And it just about missed out on the win in the Pro-Ams, finished in 2nd and 7th overall, as Misha Berger, bear in mind, Misha, I think was down in 13th at one point, ended up finishing in 6th. So fair play. And he ended up winning in Pro-Am, of course. So that was a really good comeback from Misha Berger.
It was a photo finish, I think, between him and Svoboda in the end for that.
Some good AM results.
quite a lonely field. So who got a penalty then? So I can pet. So Costa obviously was fine. Costa wins, and a Zavazil Lazarus hammer. So Pedersen was going to be P5, but he got a post-race penalty, so he gets demoted. Then Supporter is next, and Berger.
Dimbolo did serve his, luckily.
No, Dimbolo didn't, because oh no, you're right. Yeah, Dimbolo ended up P7. So yeah, so you can see there, Supporter beat Berger by 2,000 of a second. Then it was Dimbolo, who on my screen beat Supporter, but actually on iRacing lost out. Then it was Bernier. He finished in 8th place. Del Piccolo, Godestad, Andrews, Kos. So in the end, it didn't change too much. It was sort of just that demotion for Pedersen. I think we could tell immediately he had not served that zone. He barely lifted, so had not served it. And you can see him down in 23rd place there. And Bramley down in 26th place because he went over the instant limit. Larnay was going to win the Pro-Ams. He ended up way down there in 28th. And all change on that last lap. What fantastic action. Thank you everyone for tuning in. That was very, very entertaining. Amazingly, we don't have any interviews. I mean, there are so many drivers I want to hear some thoughts on from that last lap battle. But unfortunately, no one wants to have a chat with us so far. But just in case they do, we'll leave it a couple of minutes, Aaron, and discuss the next round of the championship, which is going to be our first. I did say this last week, but I believe I am right this time, that Imola is going to be our first hour-long race of the season. It's just going to be a single race.
Yeah, a completely different approach to what we've had so far this season. It will be nothing like we've seen so far. I believe there will be a pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. Just for fuel, though, I think the tyres can go the full hour. So, yeah, one mandatory pit stop for everyone. And you're going to have to fuel save. You're going to have to tyre save probably as well. Of course, a 60-minute race means we're going to have all of our drivers in the exact same lobby, which around Imola, a fairly small and narrow track. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. It's going to be the first time we're going to have every single one of our drivers on track at the same time. Because, even in qualifying, they're not out all at the same time. I guess practice, but then some people don't practice. So, it literally will be 50-odd drivers heading into turn 1 at the same time. So, get your cameras out. It's going to be interesting to see how some drivers approach it. And this car isn't used to going that kind of distance, so not many people are going to have experience going 60 minutes in a Porsche Cup car, so it's going to be one of the most unpredictable races, I think, of the season.
Yeah, when we've had these Porsche Cup endurance races before, the drivers make mistakes when it comes to pit stops as well, because you don't do pit stops in these cars. So when it comes to just entering the pits and these things, it's a very unusual experience, and the drivers may not be totally ready for it. So hopefully they'll be doing all the practice that they can over the next week in order to ensure that they are on their best form. But yeah, still no one is joining us, so unfortunately I think that will be it for the broadcast today. Of course, once again, thanks to our title sponsor for this series, Apex Racing Academy. Do check them out at apexracingac.com. There's a link to them in the description below, where you can also check out Apex Racing Simulators and SDK Gaming, Apex Racing TV, and obviously Apex Racing League as well. Of course, there's plenty more action coming up on Apex Racing TV coming up over the next few days. We've got GT3 Trophy, round 2 of that is on Thursday. I'm not really looking forward to that one. But we've got loads of other series like BRSCC happening. We've got the Radical Esports Championship, the official series, that's on Friday evenings. Vicmo Tech as well for North American viewers. So just make sure to subscribe to Apex Racing TV. Click the bell icon as well so you know when a stream goes up. And tune in for whatever races you want. And of course, definitely make sure to tune in next week at Emirates. Tonight was a brilliant night of racing, and hopefully next week will be no different. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith, and from Joshua Wilkie, we will say goodbye, and we'll see you back in 7 days' time. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.